As soon as Voldy sits, then we'll get going. You need an opener, buddy? Yeah.
Oh, that's your.
Try not to catch too much of the on the video. Try to just capture the content.
The professional.
Not the guy falling over in the chair.
Yeah, we're working on that.
It's the loud snoring that bothers me.
Okay, so who right now has their own startup in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, nice, excellent. Who doesn't have a startup but actually is trying to work for a startup? Maybe here for networking or. Okay, all right, there you go. There's the whole makeup right there. Who has a startup and has actually moved their business forward in the last 30 days? Okay. So you could argue that. You could actually say, here's how I moved it forward, right? All right, excellent. Okay. Measurably, that's a good one. Okay. Does everybody know what CWEE is? CWEE. It is, of course you guys know what that is, yes. CWEE is the internship program over at COC. The students join this program and then they offer themselves up to area businesses in different areas of their expertise, from marketing to sales to technology. Maybe you need a website built. But it is a program. I want to talk more about it another time, but I want to just kind of get a feel for who here knows anything about it. I've actually used the program and had an internship, what are we in? A year ago, 9 months ago. And she worked out great, real hard worker, didn't know a lot about social media, but by the end of the internship really learned a lot and provided a lot of value. And it's free.
Can you repeat the name of it?
CWEE.
Cooperative Work Education Program.
Did you get that? CWEE.
That's quick. Yeah, it's Cooperative Work Education Experience, maybe?
There you go.
Yeah,
Excellent, buddy, excellent.
one of those.
Always a critic.
Just have to keep it straight. You go here.
Oh, yeah, no, you got like maybe 8 or 9 people.
8 or 9?
Yeah,
Wow.
and a lot of
In
people.
what areas?
Okay, at least 5 were programming, and then, let's see, 1, 2, 3 were artists. So, yeah,
Really?
Cody. Yeah.
Have you used the other art school here?
CalArts.
CalArts, sorry.
Yeah, most of our artists came from CalArts, but
Really?
we haven't done internships with them.
Okay.
But I think you get 20, what is it, 20?
Right now. If anyone else should
Oh,
apply
for 20 hours you get 1 credit, 1 unit of,
Okay.
So
Got it.
typically we'll get 60 hours where, someone will take like 3 units and get
That's
60
great.
hours. Yeah, but you burn through the 60 hours pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And actually I think in all but one case we ended up hiring them afterwards.
Yeah, well, at your shop, 60 hours is like half a week.
Half a week.
Yes, sir.
You brought that up as if it was a resource for people who needed support,
Yes.
but there are also people like myself who are in a provider position who are not attached to the startup right now. So I don't know how you approach that, or how you broker that type of.
That's an excellent point I wanted to bring up. That's actually my next point. Is as the website scvstartup.com, little scvstartup.com. As we build that out, I want to have a section where it's not just about what SCV Startup is doing, but more about matchmaking between worker and startup. And so
And
we'll have
investor. And investor.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So is that clear? So I want to have those resources lined up. We'll be organizing by company, who's looking for what, and then we can line up people. They're looking for a startup in this section, or this area, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that makes sense?
Right, and that answers the question. All I want to do is just identify that I'm looking for collaboration opportunities.
Excellent. Okay, great. Okay, so this is SCV Startup. We have a gentleman in the room. Thank you. And a nice lady in the chair. So we're still figuring out our format, right? We launched it in December, and here we are. It's now BYOB theme. I don't know what the next one will be, maybe crazy hat theme, but I think we're getting into our own here. The point of it was that this is not your typical type of group where you come and take and you leave. This is more of a for the community, I want people to think about what you can add to the group, not so much what you can subtract from it. And so with that mindset, we're going to build something great. But only with that mindset. If we think about how we can come and take and leave, I think we'll be left with just scraps. But if we come and think about what we can bring and how we can help each other for the greater good of SCV, I think it's going to be something really big. And right now, it really is in the infancy, right? We have some startups that are popping up, some ideas. I hear the ideas all the time, and they're exciting. But one of the things I want to talk about is the idea of failure. And this is a common theme, that you can't be afraid of failure. And John is going to come up and talk a little bit about NLP in 2 minutes. And one of the points he's going to make is about the human mind and why we are afraid to fail, and not because of the reasons you think.
Quick question.
Yes?
Before you go on, you mentioned that you're trying to aggregate brain knowledge to bring to the table. What method are you using to find out what the resources are of the various brains in the room in order to compile it?
You. We're using each other. We're literally leveraging each other's
No, but I'm
network.
saying, how would everyone else know what each of us knows real well?
So this is your first. So the last meeting we had was SCV Startup Unplugged, where we just sat around and talked about each other and got to know, you're doing this, I'm doing this, here's what I need, here's what you need. I have a friend that does that.
But given that you continue to add members, what method are you going to have to keep that base of knowledge expanded?
I think what we'll do is just a time to set aside for networking each meeting. And maybe what we'll do is we'll start the meeting at 6:30, network until 7, and then get our speaker on at 7 till 8, and then we'll break it down at that point. That'll give us a chance to network. But I don't want the meeting to just be about networking. I want it to be about content and how to enrich each other and move forward. So on that theme, it's important that the role we play in the group is consistent, where nobody has a bigger or more important role than the other person. So what I mean is there's a recipe, right, to a successful startup. You have your entrepreneur, you have your support people, your programmers, your digital people, your social media people, marketing people, and you have your investors, you have your mentors. No one role, no one person is more important than the other. We're all equally as important to the success of the startup. So we should treat each other the same way, and we shouldn't, I've seen this in other groups, we shouldn't treat investors, which this happens a lot, any different, which means we don't maul them like pit bulls. So we just treat them in a casual conversation, and we maybe pick their brains on some ideas and engage them into the meeting like anybody else you'd meet. What I don't want to happen, what we've been good at so far, is investors show up because they don't feel like they're going to be pitched 40 times in an evening. And not only is that not a good way to do it, it's a quick way to run these people off, right? Because we want everybody, we want not, I'm not looking for checks, I'm looking more about insight. And that's why I asked Bob to come here tonight and speak, because I wanted to get there. It's important to understand how an investor views or looks at a startup. Because when you can stand in their shoes, you can look at, hopefully, take a step back and look at your startup and say, am I providing value? Is there really an idea here? Do I have the team? Do I have the ingredients necessary to build something great? Okay, does that make sense? So, the last point I wanted to make was the survey that I sent out. Who here participated in the survey? All right, that's lame. Okay, so whatever you got to do with your email program, make sure I don't send you a lot of things. I probably send you one thing a month. Whatever you do, please put my emails take it out of the spam filter. Because when I ask for things, I'm really trying to get feedback on how to build the group a little bit better, how to move it forward. So it was about an 8 or 9 question survey on what you guys were thinking about the group, and the feedback has been that that everything seems to be going well. Obviously the big event was the Brad Feld event. That seems to be the most popular one. Some people haven't been able to attend, and I was worried whether people were leaving their startup, whether they're abandoning their ship, or they were, attending other meetings. The gist of what I got back was people couldn't make the 6:30 time slot. So I think what I'm going to do, like I said, is move that back a little bit more as people are coming from LA and maybe can't get here by 6:30, which I'm getting nods now. So 7 o'clock sounds like a better time. That would work. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. But overall, there wasn't. It was an anonymous survey, so there was nobody knew whose comments were what. But overall, people were excited about the group and where we're headed and what we've achieved so far. So don't hesitate. I don't take this personally. So if you have feedback about the group and you say, if we could do this or that, just send me an email. Let me know what your thoughts are. I have a pretty thick skin on this. I want this thing to be successful. It's not about me. I've said this 100 times. It's about the group. So if it doesn't succeed, it has nothing to do with me. It's about how much we want it to succeed. Clear? Okay. So that is it. What I wanted, I asked one of our members, John, to come up and talk a little bit about NLP. And obviously, I'm not going to steal his thunder. He's going to describe what that is and why that's important for you to understand. Because when you're an entrepreneur and you're in a startup, it's not how good you are, it's also how strong your mind is. And one of the things we do as human beings is we talk ourselves down and out of almost everything. Which is why, as an entrepreneur, you're that one guy sticking up in a sea of people. And at times it can get lonely because most people will say, what are you doing? You're crazy. Why don't you just do this or do that or do this? But being an entrepreneur, you can't. It's inside of you. You want to be that person that sticks his or her head up. So, John, please come on up. I wanted to welcome you to the group.
Thank you.
In the group, but standing up in front of the group.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you, sir.
Good evening. My name's John Carter, and I have, ever since '72 when I graduated from college, now I realize most of you weren't born when I graduated from college, but when I graduated from college, I decided that I would work for myself from then on. And over the years, I have started many, many, many businesses, most of which failed. Because anybody that gets out and starts a business runs a risk. But what happens to most people is they fail and they go, I'm no good at this, and they quit. But I guarantee you the businesses that have been successful have more than made up for it. I retired at age 52. I don't have to work, I love to work. And this is my passion, is helping other people and mentoring teenagers. Back in about 1980, 85, I decided that what I really wanted to do was find out what made people tick, because if you know what makes them tick, then your advertising goes a little better, you can get more customers. So I started to study a branch of psychology called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. How many of you have heard of it? Quite a few of you, yeah. Who here has heard of Tony Robbins? That's all he uses is NLP. And I started to study this originally just to find out how people tick so I could improve my business. But it did a lot of other things for me too. And one of the things I was talking to Eric about, we were talking about people that give up and they quit. Or even worse, how many of you know people that have all these ideas but they don't do anything in life? Any of you know those people? How many of you have been that person besides me, right? And there's a reason for it. You see, our identity is wrapped up in what we do and what we create. That's who we are. And we like to tell people, I do this, I do that, I do the other. It's part of our identity. And what really holds people back is not the fear of failure, because we all risk that all the time. It's the fear of losing the dream. Because if you don't have a dream, you don't have anything. And then your whole identity is crushed. And what people are afraid of is they risk it, it doesn't work, and then what? Who am I? I'm nothing. I'm a loser. They walk around. Don't talk to me. And the secret is to have more than one dream. I've got a startup right now that I'm working on. But if it doesn't work, and there's a chance it won't because very few real startups do work, I've got 2 more ideas behind that I can work on. And that keeps me going. That takes away the fear of failure. Most people have this terrible fear of failure because they don't know what else they're going to do. So start thinking about your dreams, what it is you're trying to do, what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then think to yourself, what else could I do? If that doesn't work, if that thing falls flat on its face, what else can I do? And we start working with that. And all of a sudden, you're going, well, hell, doesn't work, I'll do this. That doesn't work, I'll do this. And all of a sudden, you don't have that fear of losing everything, which is what our identity is wrapped up in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Does anybody have any questions? Because I don't want to take too much of your time tonight.
I got one question.
Yeah.
So I'm a student of entrepreneurs.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of entrepreneurs say, I had nothing else in life. This is all I had, and I worked day and night on this, because this is all I could be.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing else in my life. I'm not smart enough to do anything else. This is all I could do, and I worked day and night on it.
Uh-huh.
So they had nothing else.
There are people that work that way. Yes, sir.
And my problem's the opposite. I've got too many of those different ideas that,
You have so many ideas, you don't know where to start.
well, I'm starting 2 or 3 simultaneously that then sort of sucks time out of each one.
Uh-huh. And is that working for you?
Sort of, because I keep one at the top.
All right. What I might suggest, because you and I have a lot in common, actually. I've got about 40 ideas here that I could be doing. The secret is to find one that you're passionate about and devote your time to that, knowing that as soon as that goes, now you can go this next one. All right? Because otherwise, you're just going to do a million things. And now, you also got to be careful, is people use that as an excuse. I can't do it. I got all these projects. Also, in what we call NLP, it's a significance factor. I'm so busy, because that makes you feel worthy and important. That's one of the 6 human needs. We all need that. But a lot of people do that to themselves. I've got too much to do. I'm so busy. I'm so important. And that also hinders you from going forward. Pick one and just do it. Any other questions? Is that helpful? Okay.
Actually, I have a good question for everyone.
Yes.
What are some things you might suggest for individuals who are in similar scenarios, or a couple of the different ones that you've described, to maybe go out and read? Maybe books or something that can help them with their
On NLP
resources.
resources, there are lots of books. Lots of books. Most people like Tony Robbins' books because they're really easily read.
What Cialdini's influence?
Huh?
Psychology of Persuasion, Cialdini.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Do you mean just on this topic or in general?
In general, to help with individuals who are maybe in that circumstance where they have too many ideas, or they're too laser focused on a single idea. Either one.
Yeah.
Richard Branson did an autobiography about 6 or 7 years ago, which is brilliant.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And this guy's got so many ideas and he executes on them all. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know he started off managing the Sex Pistols?
Yeah.
Only because I read his book. That's the only reason I know.
I think I'm gonna go buy that book.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
John, thank you. Let me introduce our next speaker. Let me just wrap up on John. NLP is going to be a topic on its own in an upcoming meeting, because programming your mind is infinitely important. Maybe some of you heard some of the points tonight and you just kind of yes to yourself, yeah, I get it. But that concept he dropped on me the other day in Panera, the idea of the reason people don't move forward, because the question I had is, some people in the group aren't moving their business forward. And I don't know why, but it's not really my cross to bear. It's really yours. And I struggle with that sometimes, because why aren't they moving it forward? But when he said that, it kind of hit me like a brick. It's like, that's what it is. It's people are afraid to fail, not for the fear of failure, but because they lose their identity on who they are. So in your family, at cocktail parties, you're the entrepreneur with this idea or this idea, but if you don't have that anymore, who are you? So NLP, I guarantee, will be a topic upcoming. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to address in this group overall is understanding the different roles in a startup. And one of the things that's behind the curtain is this investors, right? How to invest. Why do some guys, you read TechCrunch and you think everybody's getting funding, right? You're like, oh my God, that idea is crazy. It just got 10 million. That got 3 million. That got, and you think everybody's getting funding. Very few, I think it's less than 1%, right, get funding. And so now the question is, well, why do some companies get funding and others don't? Why are some ideas funded like this? Why are some guys able to just kind of, or women, raise their hand and go, I need funding, and they get a check? And others kind of struggle along. So what is it? What is the secret sauce? And I thought it would be interesting to sit back and listen to someone who actually writes checks. Not someone who says they're an investor, because there are a lot of them out there. And we're going to weed them out. But someone who actually gets out their checkbook and writes out a check. So one of the things, the other thing I want to talk about is we judge. We judge investors. Why won't they give me a check? Why won't they give me a check? When was the last time you wrote a check for 50 grand for an idea? And I think you really need to step back and say, I've never done that. And if I heard someone like me come up, would I write them a check for 50 grand? So I thought it would be great to have Bob come up. Bob is the, not just an angel investor, but he is the screener for the Pasadena Angels. He's also a professor, right? And he teaches entrepreneurship. So tonight he's going to get us into the mind of an investor and help us understand how they evaluate which investments they're going to make. Okay, so welcome up, Bob. Bob Aholt.
Cheers, everyone. Come on, you could, while we're setting up, grab a beer.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I brought a DVI cable.
Oh,
Is on. Do you have a DVI cable?
Now, folks, I brought Corona.